Hello everyone and welcome to the topic of NR, numerology and frame structure. In this we are going to discuss about new radio numerology and frame structure. So a key part of the 5G new radio is flexibility. So there are various options which are available. Is subcarrier spacing and it is defined by numerology. The subcarrier spacing is of 15 kHz, 30 kHz, 60 kHz, 120 kHz and 250 to 40 kHz. So this subcarrier spacing of 480 kHz, it is specified by 3GPP but it could not be available in 5G release phase 2. So a large subcarrier spacing is linked to the higher frequencies since they experience always Doppler shift. So these are the supported transmission numerology. We can see number 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 which is having kilohertz of the subcarrier spacing as 15 kilohertz, 30, 60, 120 and 240. 15 kilohertz cyclic prefix used is the normal cyclic prefix we can use. This normal cyclic prefix it also used in the LT technology. So there are two types, like we can use this CP in two forms, normal one and extended one. So with 60 kilohertz subcarrier we can use normal or extended, otherwise we can use the normal cyclic prefix. So we can see here if 12 subcarriers are there and frequency of is 15 kilohertz, so total is 180 kilohertz. Similarly, it can extend it up to 2880 kilohertz. Now this is the new radio slot length. We can see here 4 and subcarrier, like 15 kilohertz, this is of 1 millisecond, this is of 0.5 millisecond, then 0.0625 milliseconds per slot. This is the frame structure. We can see here one radio frame. This is having 10 millisecond 10 slots. If we expand 1 millisecond subframe, so it is divided into two slots of 0.5 milliseconds. In 5G, one new radio resource block contains 12 subcarriers in frequency domain, as we have discussed in our diagram. So in LT, resource block bandwidth is fixed up to 180 kHz, but in new radio it is not fixed and it depends upon the subcarrier spacing. We can see here the different numerologies, like 0, 15 kHz, one resource block is 180 kHz in frequency domain and 1 millisecond in time domain if we use the normal cyclic prefix. With the numerology 1, 30 kHz, one resource block is of 360 kHz and 2880 in frequency domain and 0.0625 millisecond in time domain. This is the physical resource block. We can see here, if we expand the 1 millisecond, we can see the physical resource block 0 to 12, and this is a slot, and this symbol is OFDM symbol. New radio is expected to work with 100 MHz channel bandwidth for lower bands like less than 6 GHz and 400 MHz higher bands in mm wave ranges. This bandwidth efficiency is provided is 99%. Here the DC subcarrier is not reserved for the uplink and downlink. We can see here this is the transmission bandwidth which is having active resource block. This is configuration, like we have full configuration. This is the complete, and this one is the reserved, we call it as a guard band. This is the configured transmission bandwidth, that you can send your resource block within this range. Whatever the resource block that we are using, active resource block, and this is the transmission bandwidth. Now we can see here the maximum transmission bandwidth configuration. These are the subcarrier spacing 15, 30, 60 for example, and the bandwidth like 5 MHz, 10, and these are the blocks. Thank you.